told you guys in the last video, I didn't want to start making these negative Switch 2 videos to make it seem like I'm grifting. But we just came across something crazy from Doug Bowser that we had to address. And we got to lightly touch on some of the comments that are coming from the community. Okay, so what's going on with Doug Bowser? Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo America, came out here and talked about the pricing of the Switch 2 unit and said that tariffs had nothing to do with the price selection. And then he also justifies the games, right? He justifies the price of the games, and instead of creating ease and calm, I think both comments in regards to the Switch 2 pricing, along with the price of games, actually made matters worse. So we want to talk about that. We also want to address people in the community who unfortunately are showing that A, they care so much about a company, they don't care what it does to their fellow gamers and consumers, and B, even those that think they're looking at this impartially or factually, even they don't get it, which is horrible all the way around, because we either have succumbed to, as a gaming community, to just be glazers, or we just don't know what the heck is going on around us. None of this is good. What's up, people? It's your boy MM2K, Hard Knock Digital Culture Cloud Dosage, MM2K Gaming, back again with another video. Do us a huge favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, rock those bells for notifications, please, so you know when we're dropping these doses. All right. So I want to, here, let me do this, if it'll let me do this. Because there's so much packed in to this video. This is going to be crazy. All right, so I want to show you guys this first and foremost. Let me see. Will it let me do it? I think I can. There we go. All right. Here, let me show you guys this first. So, it's not actually Cheap A Gamer, but I think it was The Verge. The Verge has an article where Doug Bowser says tariffs aren't the reason the Switch 2 cost is $449, right? And I looked at the article, I read it, and my jaw dropped, because I noticed that what Doug was saying was, well, hold on, let me just read you my tweet to explain. I said, after reading Doug Bowser's comments, I'm not buying it in regards to tariffs aren't the reason for the Switch 2 to cost $449. Why? Because he actually wants you to believe that the tech in the device warrants the price. Nah. To avoid tariffs, you shifted production at a cost, and you're making everyone else outside of Japan pay for the cost. All right. And that was more proven in an actual tweet that someone that's very pro Nintendo, they got Nintendo in their name, very pro Nintendo, put out there, that kind of in a backwards way tried to explain in favor of the price hikes, but actually did more to prove why the price hikes cannot be defended. We're gonna slightly touch on that, and I'm gonna direct you to where you can listen to a discussion where I deep dive into the economics of it and why it doesn't make sense. But we'll get there. So, yeah, Doug said that about the console. So charging $449 for something that, you know, Digital Foundry in other places, other people that have got their hands on this has said this is very comparable to a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One, right? And that technology is what? That technology is 12 years old. So technology from 12 years ago, because it's portable, is worth almost the price of a top of the line current gen based platform. I don't think so. The tech in it does not justify it, and part of that is also proven in the price of this unit in Japan. Like, the price of the unit in Japan is very comparable to the price that it was the Switch 1 was at launch. So why is that price so low and this price so high when your two largest markets where you make money, where Nintendo makes money, is North America and Europe? Why are they the highest there? Right? Okay, so that was one crazy situation. Another one was, let me see if I can find it. That's not it. That's not it either. Here it goes. Why do I have that so far? Okay. Doug Bowser then also says about the prices, he says, what you see right here is variable pricing. We'll look at each game, really look at the developments that's gone into the game, the breadth and the depth of the gameplay, if you will, the durability over time and the repeatability of gameplay experiences. Those are all factors, and there's many more to go into consideration of what is the right price for the game. So I think you can anticipate that there will be variable pricing, and we haven't set a benchmark. So I think in Doug's mind, this was their PR way of trying to explain in the minds of consumers, hey, this price is so high because we're trying to establish a premium offering. However, the problem with that is it's not actually what he's saying. It's, I think, what he's trying to convince you of, and gamers were smart, or at least some of you are smart enough to realize that was a bunch of bullpucky. Because what that actually says, if you look at it in totality and not try to pigeonhole the comment, is you can see games over $90. And I make this comment here. I say here in response to what Doug says, I said it yesterday. Nintendo is poised to take us back to the wild, wild west days of gaming in the 90s, where top games could range anywhere from 40 to 80 plus, just because. Like the price of games was all over the place in the 90s. Now, part of that was largely due to the cost of producing these games on cartridges and the technology as far as the spacing and stuff that in the frugality of it was not keeping up with the technology. So it was becoming more and more expensive to produce games on and copying them on these cartridges. So yeah, that justified some of the higher prices as the games became more and more complex. But some people just they went all over the place with them. Like, games ranged anywhere, and I'm not just talking about any rinky-dink game or smaller game. I'm talking about like big ticket games. Big ticket games could range anywhere between $40 to $80. They felt like they could just, they would get away with the price, they would do it. And I remember I told a story with the members about a game that I had purchased back in the 90s with a relative, and we played it for the summer. That was like $80-something. That they got a discount, but the regular retail price was $80. It was all over the place. Nintendo was trying to take us back there. We talked about yesterday where, you know, I get the arguments that game prices should be higher, but we as consumers, we have to set some guardrails here. We cannot allow these companies to do whatever they want to do as far as setting prices. There has to be some type of bargain here to where it's like, we as consumers understand that the cost of things are going to go up, but businesses have to understand that outside of any extenuating circumstances like tariffs, I kind of get that, but outside of extenuating and insane circumstances financially, you can't just sit there and say, well, we're going to boost this up higher. We're going to boost this up higher, because we're out of the wild, wild west days. You know, we're in an era where guardrails have been established. Prices for our AAA games have been set. There are instances to where they even gone up within a generation, but not multiple times within the generation. So we got to respect that things are going to go up, but we need businesses to respect that they can't be disrespectful to the consumer and just start and disregard these guardrails. All right. Now, one of the ways that I feel like the guardrails are being disrespected is here. I want to show you guys something. So there's this tweet out here from this individual named Nintendo Prime that claims that they've talked to one of their old professors, and the old professor to them, according to their accounts of this, justified the price of the Nintendo Switch as far as the games are concerned, because the yen is weaker, and that means that Japan is going to get less money because the yen is weaker. Now, I immediately saw this, and I'm not the biggest market steward out there. I mean, I have Fortune 500 experience that involves markets and stuff like that. You know, even I, from time to time, have to go look up Bloomberg content or whatever to understand what's happening in the global markets and stuff like that. But even I, when I looked at this, I said, this was kind of strange, because here, as this account Christian kind of alludes to, it's like, isn't this the complete opposite? A weak yen is good for Nintendo, because when they convert the sales from USD to the yen, the weaker than yen they get more. Like, for instance, back in 2017, when you look at the currency conversion, for every single dollar Nintendo got, like dollar, like if they sold something in the United States, and you know, for every dollar they got back, when they brought that dollar back, the dollar converted to 110 yen. In 2025, that same dollar converts to 150 yen. So when you look at a $60 game in 2017, they got back 6,600 yen, but now they're getting back 9,000 yen. Right? And to add insult to injury, this is my understanding. If there's something that I'm missing, please inform me. Now, I go into a full-fledged discussion about this, and I'm going to explain to you where, but if there is something that I'm missing, help me out here. And this is where it gets even worse here, because if people like me and Christian and others, there's a lot of others. I saw Genkai and a lot of other people out there. Shout out to Prince Tybold. A lot of people that we're all like looking at this like, huh? Is this being explained backwards? If what we're assuming is correct, and I'm gonna be fair here and say assume, if what we're assuming is correct, shouldn't the highest price hikes be in Japan? Because you're going to get more bang out of that buck for you in Japan, out of that dollar. You're going to get more yen back. Now, yes, is the yen less powerful? Yeah, but as you're selling, as you're exporting stuff and you're selling it at the higher currency rates, you're importing more yen to supplement the fact that when you do domestic sales, if you sell something in Japan, you're getting less back. So to factor in you getting less back when you sell something domestically, shouldn't the yen cost see the largest hikes? That's why you saw Sony raise the price of the PlayStation. They made significant raises to factor this in. And when you factor in how much the yen has fell in historic lows, I've talked to people, and some are assessing, including myself, that Nintendo games should be maximized at 11,000 yen now. Like you're seeing now that the highest price is 9,900 yen or something, or 9,700 yen for Super Mario Kart. If you're going to raise these prices and you feel, and these are the rates that you're raising them in, the highest raises should be in the yen, being that you're selling it domestically, so you're getting less back than you are when you sell it internationally. Because when you bring back a dollar, you're getting more yen back this time around, right? Maybe there's something we're missing, and I don't want to get too deep into this because this might go over people's heads, and people are like, I don't care about all that. So I'll tell you where we can discuss this even more. But here's the fact of the matter, y'all. This is the only reason why I even brought this part up. We're consumers. And there's two ways you can look at what a company does financially. There's two ways to look at it. Tier one is, hey, is the company making enough money to keep their lights on and to justify the business to those that are invested in it? Then B, tier two. How can this said company maximize its profits? Tier one is the ceiling where consumers should be thinking. Not tier two. How can said company maximize their profits? Prime example, when it comes to Nintendo, yes, the tariffs can be demonstrably have a demonstrable negative impact on their ability to keep the business afloat. So adjusting the price for the tariffs, which I feel that they originally did in the 440 price range. I think they're making us compensate more outside of Japan than they should, but still, yeah, I think a lot of that has to deal with what they thought, how much they thought the tariffs would impact them. I don't buy what Doug Bowser is saying for a second, that it had no impact on it. He's just trying to justify. He feels like that if he says that, then he can justify the technology in the machine, because if the tariffs go away, then people are going to say, well, why don't you charge less? That's what he's thinking. But anyway, I understand adjusting the price for tariffs because that could severely impact the keeping the lights on and justifying the business. But I don't care if you maximize profits. That's not my concern. I need you at tier one as a consumer, because at tier one as a consumer, you're hustling, you're grinding, you're making enough money to justify the business, and you're doing well. And that doesn't mean that you just make enough to scrape by. No, you're doing well. You're making money. You're making profit. The business is justified, and you're grinding to find a way to make more. But when your mindset goes to purely how we're going to maximize profits, and all companies do that, but then I team up with you solely as a consumer to think that way, then you start overcharging me for things in a non-justified fashion, and I'm sitting there making excuses for it. I don't care if you maximize your profits, because I've been doing this for almost 30 years at the Fortune 500 level. I am here to tell you, if you don't realize this, a company maximizing their profits does not translate or cascade down to the consumer all the time, especially if they're publicly traded. A publicly traded company, or a company that survives off of investors, you are like fertilizer to grass. However they're just showing, like, say if somebody was on a golf course and they were like, I want to golf on a course with the luscious greens. You're just simply the fertilizer to attract the golfer because of how great the grass is. Or how great the grass looks. You're just an ends to a means. Meaning, if they can show an investor that, hey, we got a good gimmick up here, we routinely get money from this said group, you can invest your dollar into us. As long as they're lucrative enough to keep doing the projects that I want them to do, that's great. But when these companies start maximizing their profits, they do not necessarily do more projects that benefit me. They just simply turn that over to the investor, because the investor is the number one component. I want to keep them at a tier one level, or my concern as a consumer is that is how they operate at a tier one level. Because when these companies get too greedy and they feel like they can get away with anything to maximize their profits, They're doing more for the investor and less for me because they feel like they already got me hook, line, and sinker. Hence why you see Nintendo doing what they're doing now. There is no justification for $90 games. None whatsoever. As much as the tech even appealed to me as someone looking into the Switch for what the Switch could offer, it's not on par with a base PlayStation 5 and even an Xbox Series X. It's utilizing 12-year-old technology because it can do it on the go. I can grab a portal and get current technology, current results at $199. We got to realize that we are consumers. So how we rate things should be within the consumer prism. And look, here, let me see if I can find another tweet of mine. Because I think people don't understand it. They think, maybe they think I think I'm some activist. But here's a tweet that I said, and then we can move away from this, and I can point you to where we can have a bigger discussion. I said, I am very pro-business. Heck, I have one I solely run and two I partner in. I've defended business practices in the past, many would consider shady. One in particular, even while I was still a defender of Xbox, I defended PlayStation's decision to not do cross play with all the other platforms. Hey, look, because I'm old school when it comes to this, and I'm business minded. If you want to play with PlayStation people, get a PlayStation. We built this community. We made this community this attractive. We get that it's your game, but your people want to play with us. Get a PlayStation if you want to play with us. I even defended that when everybody else wasn't defending that, when everybody else said that was shady. So I'm pro-business, I get it. And this is when I still had my things and I can't stand PlayStation, you know what I'm saying? And I can't stand the PlayStation mindset. And I was very positive about the Switch 2 Direct, and I look forward to getting one. With all that said, even I can't defend their game prices. Come on, community. What are we doing? What are we doing? With that said, that's it from your boy. Here goes the tweet right here. I tried to show it to you guys. I wouldn't pop it up. With that said, that's it. Let me know what you guys think about all this. Do you guys think that this is overblown, that the prices aren't that bad? Are you not concerned about the prices going over 90? Or do you just simply think that if we do go back to the Wild Wild West where games are just crazy and Nintendo games, or the base Nintendo game is over $100, are you in the mind state of who cares? Nintendo games are worth it? Or, do you feel like me and others that collectively there has to be some balance to this? Do we got to respect that game prices will go up, and they probably should go up in the increments they have in the past. When you look at PlayStation 1, I think games were $49.99, right? Yeah, PlayStation 1 era, they were $39.99, and then it incrementally went up to $44.99 in the middle of the gen, right? And then in the PlayStation 2 era, they leaped up another $5 at the beginning of the gen at $49.99, and some incrementally went up to $54.99 in the middle of the gen. Then during the PlayStation 3 era, games went up to $59.99. Now, understandably so, they should have went up again during the PlayStation 4 era, but that was a decision that they made not to raise them, and they kind of hurt themselves when they did that. But the precedent is you start off a generation at a certain price and you go up incrementally midway through the generation. Not you go up a year or two after the generation Or no, you go up within the generation and then you go up another $10 or even more. We're talking about $90 games in the game. You don't do that. So there has to be some type of guardrails to this. We got to understand these prices got to go up for games and they got to go up incrementally. But as consumers, we need to advocate for how incremental they go up and in the time frame that they do. We got to draw a line in the sand. Okay, we got to do that. And we got to understand which tiers we belong in arguing. I want the company to keep the lights on. I want the business to be justified and fruitful. But I don't care if you maximize your profits. That's not my concern. All right. So with that said, hope that makes sense to everybody. Appreciate all of y'all as always. And until next time, you all have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. I am going to have a full-fledged discussion in regards to this and talk about the currency and some other things going on here with the channel. If you want to be part of that discussion, stay tuned because we're going to tell you how to do so. And we are going to do that right now. What's up, people? I hope you're enjoying MM2K Gaming news content. You have a possibility to get access to even more great content, and I'm going to show you how very quickly. First and foremost, you're going to want to become a member. And you can become a member at two different levels. You can become a member at the shout out level, which is our $1.99 or $2 tier, and then you can become a member at what we call the Foamy Homie tier, which is at $3.99 or $4, depending upon where you join. So I'm going to show you how you join on YouTube. All you got to do is simply go to join right here. And then you can pick one of the two tiers, the foamed up or the foamy homie tier. And again, the foamy homie tier will give you access to everything. Just simply click on that and join and follow the instructions from there. And then you'll get access to our members posts that we place over in the post section, where you'll get access to members content Monday through Friday. All right. And then you'll get other access to streams and things like that. Now, if joining us over here is not your cup of tea, then you can become a Patreon member. Simply go look for MM2K Gaming News at Member Plus. And then what you can do is see the membership options over there. And again, we have two tiers. We have a tier one that's similar to the foamed up tier. We got another tier, tier two that's similar to the foamy homie tier. But here's the crazy thing: as you can see here, those prices are crossed out, and there's even cheaper prices. All through the month of April in 2025, we are giving people access on Patreon 50% off. So you can join us on Patreon, get 50% off your subscription and get access to the same great stuff. Another thing that you can do, another awesome perk, is when you join our Discord, which is in the description below. Join our Discord. You'll also get notifications to when all of this member content goes live. You can go to our special members only notification rooms and you'll get access to the content there. So multiple ways you can join us over at MM2K Gaming News, get access to all the great content Monday through Friday, on top of the stuff that you already enjoy. We thank you again so much for your support. And until next time, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.